One thing that sets me apart as a tax strategist is that I teach from an audit perspective. So when I engage in tax strategies with my members, I'm always looking at the back end, right? As if I was examining the return. Why? As a former revenue agent, I understand that it is not fair all the time, right? The results of an audit are not fair. You can have two different tax returns, two different people with the same issue on the tax return being examined and two different outcomes. You can have an examiner in one state that is really good, right? In one state and city, really good and knows what they're doing. And you can have another examiner who could care less about your documentation. They just want an adjustment, right? They're justifying their job and, their, I guess, their, position in their job relative to what kind of adjustment they get, right? They want to make the manager happy. They want to be a star, right? That's just what it is. Anything involving humans has bias, right? You can have somebody who just doesn't like you, who doesn't like what you represent, who just doesn't like anybody, right? You have a lot of miserable people out there. They have bad lives, bad days, bad months, bad years, and it comes out in their work. It's no different with an examiner. You can have a great examiner who has a bad day. You can have a great examiner who has a great day. You can have a bad examiner that has a bad day. You can have a bad examiner that has a good day. It's just the way it is. You could be audited at a time where, you know, that person or their manager at the time, right? Maybe they were reassigned, is dead set on getting an adjustment and they don't care if it's legitimate and they're going to fight, right? That's why I'm very, very, very stringent on strategies and my methodology of documentation, right? This is why I also, under my methodology in my mastermind, offer audit representation, right? I'm an enrolled agent. I have 20 plus years in audit, accounting, and tax, 13 in a large business and international division of the IRS, right? I am well versed in audit. That is my foundation. My niche is tax, but audit is my foundation. Very, very strict. And I take anything in my life. I audit everything. And for those of you who don't know, audit is about minimizing risk. You cannot reduce risk to zero, but you can get it as close as possible. That is my training. I'm always preventative. And you guys, if you've been following me, you understand what I mean. I have lease protection insurance for my tenants in case they default on rent, right? That is a risk prevention measure, right? I want to make sure that no matter what happens, I'm going to be paid out. What happens after that, that is up to the insurance company that covers me and the tenant. I take my tax return the same way, and my students. That is why I teach specifically how I teach as far as documentation. I'm not going to tell you, oh, yeah, just take this deduction, just take that deduction. No, there has to be a strict regimen on how you document each strategy, right? And that is why I stick to 5 specific tax codes because it's easy to digest. It is the only 5 you really need as a smaller non-wage earner, whether you call yourself a business owner, self-employed, content creator, 1099, gig worker, whatever have you, right? Very, very, very important. Not only that, you have examiners that prey on those who are less knowledgeable, right? I was audited in 2024 for my 2022 tax return, which is a very, very good year for me. And as an example, they asked for documentation for a year that I wasn't being examined under. And when I asked them, if you're picking up that year's return, I'll give you that documentation. And they came back and they said, oh, yeah, you're right. Now, either they knew better and they wanted to see if I would catch it, or they didn't know better, and that makes them a poor examiner. Okay. So you can get caught up in these things. And that's why I'm very strategic. I don't just teach preparation or, just strategy out of nowhere. Oh, yeah, take this deduction when you're on vacation. No, I teach from the back end, right? I teach from an audit perspective. I teach how to back into the front end transaction because that's what audit is, right? We take the end result and we back into the transaction with all the proof, all the documentation, right? So it's very important that you understand the difference between just any tax strategist and somebody that is going to represent you, somebody that is going to make sure that your return is solid. All right. We want to protect the wealth. We don't just want to try and build it. We want to make sure there's a wall. Because if you get audited, you're going to have to get somebody to represent you, and it can cost money. By the time you pay out this representative, whether they're an enrolled agent or a CPA or a tax attorney, you might as well have just paid the liability that came out as a result of your return that could be erroneous.